Ruins of a lavish Spanish mission anchor the east side of this 700-year-old Pueblo village, superimposing the religious zeal of 17th century Franciscans onto the landscape. Archaeological evidence reveals interaction and resistance between the ancestral Jemez and Colonial entrada. Join me today as we explore how different worldviews inform architecture in the American Southwest. For centuries, Gisewa and other villages in the Jemez province have been home to the Jemez people. Gisewa translates to place at boiling water or village by the sulfur, a reference to the nearby hot springs. At its peak, the Pueblo had as many as 800 rooms, supporting a large population. Gisewa is one of many ancestral villages of present-day Jemez Pueblo, which lies 13 miles south of here. The region was first settled in the 1300s, likely by people migrating south after the emptying of the Four Corners. In 1598, Spanish settlers led by Oñate arrived, aiming to colonize and Catholicize New Mexico. Father Alonso de Lugo was assigned as the first missionary to Gisewa and oversaw construction of the original church. Despite significant effort, the mission was only in use for about 20 years due to forced labor and persecution by the Spanish. The Franciscans abandoned Gisewa in 1640 and shifted their focus to the neighboring mission at Walatoa. Gisewa continued to be inhabited until the Pueblo Revolt of 1680, where the Jemez moved to more defensible sites on nearby mesas. Today, the imposing ruins are what remains of the San Jose de los Jemez mission, which was designed in the winter of 1621 and constructed by Jemez people using local material. The mission complex is notable for its rare octagonal bell tower and massive stone walls, some reaching up to 7 feet in thickness. The first missionary assigned to the Jemez region was Father Alonso de Lugo, who accompanied Oñate in 1598 during the original settlement of New Mexico. While it is unclear whether Lugo or his successor began the missionary efforts at Gisewa, 2 attempts to convert the Jemez, first in 1601 and again in 1621, were unsuccessful. In the winter of 1621, Father Salmeron established the mission church of San Jose de los Jemez. As it stands today, the mission is primarily constructed of sandstone, with a few sections of adobe brick found in and beneath the wall, suggesting an earlier church may have started at the location. The church is an impressive structure, measuring 33 by 110 feet on the interior. Its walls are substantial, 6 feet thick on the west and south, and 7 feet thick on the east. The interior would have been adorned with fresco paintings, pine panels, and carved wooden statues of saints. Throughout the church's history, 3 different layers were applied to its white plastered walls. Archaeologists discovered pieces of selenite, a translucent mineral on the nave floor, which was likely used as windows to let light filter into the sanctuary. A fire in 1623 destroyed much of the church, including the interior choir loft. In response, parishioners constructed a new 2-story facade to the south of the original front wall and erected a replacement choir loft in this addition. Remnants of these expansions can still be seen today. The ruins of this once imposing complex are a testament to the religious zeal of the 17th century Franciscans, who were responsible for building many of the missions throughout the American Southwest. While residing at San Jose de los Jemez, Father Salmeron also founded a second mission at Walatoa, present-day Jemez Pueblo. Spanish structures were larger than pre-existing Pueblo rooms, which were repurposed for new functions, such as stables for horses. Along with architectural influence, the Spanish introduced new farming techniques, domesticated animals, fruit trees, and iron tools, all of which shaped the layout and use of space at the mission complex. The open area to the south served as the cemetery, or Camposanto. It was traditional for converts to be buried in cemeteries enclosed by a low wall. Here, the Camposanto was bordered by convento rooms to the east, Pueblo room blocks to the west, and the church to the north. The convento included rooms where the blue-robed friars and assistants managed church affairs, prepared and shared meals, and slept. These rooms also served as colonial classrooms where Pueblo individuals could learn trades, religious instruction, and the Spanish language. Items used for worship, such as priestly vestments, altar vessels, linens, candlesticks, and more, were stored in the sacristy. To the north was a private chapel and stairwell in the farthest room, which led to the second floor of the sacristy, having a hatch that opened to the church roof. The mission and convento, built against the hillside to the north, along with Oak Canyon Creek to the south, formed a walled compound that offered defense against potential invaders. In addition to the vegetables and fruit trees, the friars likely oversaw fields of corn, bean, and squash in the valley below. Village hunters provided wild game, while dairy and meat from the mission cows, goats, and sheep supplemented their diet. Domesticated animals introduced by the Spanish also supplied wool, leather, and tallow for the making of soap and candles. The missions of the Southwest stand as reminders of colonial ambition, superimposing Spanish identity onto the landscape. Inside, the church has intentional design to convey Catholic belief. Organized around the altar, a place that binds the faithful together in unity, connecting heaven and earth. Concentric spaces then span out from the center, transitioning from sacred to the mundane. The sanctuary for the clergy, the nave holding the faithful, and the narthex acting as a buffer zone vestibule to the outside world. These days, the National Historic Site honors the ancestral village each year in early December with the Lights of Gisewa event, lighting hundreds of farolitos which illuminate the mission, accompanied by bonfires and traditional dance. Horno ovens fire up to bake Pueblo bread and feed an eager crowd. Contrasting with massive Spanish missions, Pueblo people utilize a special underground structure called a Kiva, whose architecture embodies their worldview. The Kiva is a semi-subterranean chamber primarily used for religious purposes. Its flat earthen roof is supported by large wooden beams known as vigas. Near the latter base on the floor is a fire pit hearth and deflector. Above is a hatchway in the roof which allows smoke to escape, while also serving as entry and exit. As smoke rises through the hatchway, cool air is drawn in from the outside by a ventilator shaft, maintaining air circulation within the space. Kiva architecture is a microcosm of Pueblo belief, reflecting the emergence from 3 previous underworlds into the daylight world we inhabit today. Some Kiva features a small hole in the floor called a sipapu, a naval umbilical cord connecting to Mother Earth. Kivas can contain other design elements, including wall niches and floor vaults. Some had layers of murals painted on the wall. As you ascend the ladder and emerge into the daylight, an extending pole reaches skyward, symbolically piercing the clouds to empty them of rain. The first Kivas were circular, but over time, square and rectangular designs were adopted, especially in western Pueblos. Various Kiva sizes and configurations have existed over time in the southwest to serve different groups and function, such as great Kiva structures. Much like the earlier pit houses, sunken construction of the Kiva provides a protective embrace from Mother Earth. The semi-subterranean design naturally regulates temperature when surrounding Earth acts as insulation as the ground's thermal mass slows changes in temperature. For those who enter a Kiva on a hot summer day, refreshing coolness is immediately noticed. Here at Gisewa, the vent shaft, deflector, and hearth are oriented to the south, differing from pre-contact Tiwa villages like those at Kawawa. The southern orientation suggests the Jemez migrated from the Four Corners area, where such configurations are typical. After the missionaries left, the Jemez people continued to inhabit Gisewa. One colonial era room here was remodeled after the departure of the Spanish. It contains a hearth, deflector, and vent shaft, originally serving as perhaps the priest's living quarters before being transformed into a Kiva. Early exploration into the Jemez region began in 1849 when Lieutenant James H. Simpson, leading a military party, reported on an abandoned Jemez Pueblo. Accompanied by Francisco Hosta, Lieutenant Governor of Jemez, Simpson traveled to Jemez Springs, where he documented the abandoned mission at Gisewa. 2 illustrators joined him who created sketches of the mission. Over the years since, significant excavations have taken place here, carried out by the School of American Research and Museum of New Mexico. In 1921, the site was donated to the state and became known as Jemez State Monument. Surveys conducted in the 1920s resulted in detailed site maps, spanning into the 30s, which provided tree ring dating and identification of Jemez and Vallecitos ceramic types. Although these ceramic definitions are simplified, they remain in use today by archaeologists working in the region. Vallecitos black-on-white pottery is characterized by a dense, fine-grained paste with thick white slip applied to both interior and exterior bowls. The bowls are well polished inside, and the exterior is smooth. Paint color varies from solid black to gray, sometimes firing to a brownish-red hue. This was initially attributed to iron content, however later studies in 1938 from Unshagi Pueblo material questioned this assumption. Vallecitos designs closely resemble those found in Santa Fe pottery, though less complex and frequently featuring dots on the rim to create spotted background. In contrast, Jemez black-on-white pottery is distinguished by a coarser paste containing large inclusions. Bowls are well polished inside and out, and their design styles often imitate those of late Rio Grande glazewares, characterized by heavy lines and simple combinations. Look around at the buildings in your community today. What messages do our modern architecture communicate? If you've made it this far, please subscribe to the channel and join me on our next adventure.